Follow-up video, response video that Together for Peace guy, Jack, and Noah, the Veritas 48 guy, both of them still ragging on atheism as if it's not offering enough and it's not seductive enough. You know, it doesn't give them anything. You know, you have to, you know, they're still asking for their brain, their intelligence, their identity, their action in the world to be bought. We have to bribe them into being human beings, into being intelligent human beings. And that's really what we're talking about here. We're talking, there's only two categories of people: retards and people actually trying to use their brain. All right, all religious people are retards. I mean, I say they're mostly liars, but they're retards if they really believe it. If they really believe that a 2,000-year-old book is defining reality, you know, that we came from Adam and Eve, poofed by a god, you know, the earth was flooded, and that's why there's fucking seashells on the top of mountains. If they really believe that bullshit, and the world's 6,000 years old, then they're retarded, okay? They have a delusionary understanding that has dysfunctioned their brains, okay? Because it can't logically work, because it's full of wrong presumptions, wrong definitions. Logic can't work. Equations can't work if you put the wrong numbers in the variables. And you religious people have got all the variables all fucked up. You're the retards. And, you know, to even use a word like consistency in a conversation about religion versus atheism, it's just so ludicrous. Well, I mean, what's the consistency in religious nuts? I mean, they come in all kinds of varieties. I mean, it's just incredible for you to even go near that fucking word. It's silly. It's a silly conversation. Look, there are atheists who are, they're non-deists, but they have created some sort of god. They even have reverence for idiotic nature, which doesn't have a goddamn brain, all right, but they revere it. So yeah, they turn into what you might call your nihilists, okay, because they see no obligation to be anything but the fittest, you know, by natural selection's definition, which is a non-definition, which just means might equals right, which is really stupid and unintelligent. You know, and then there's atheists who believe in UFOs and, you know, consciousnesses, portals, and black holes where you know, consciousness communes and all kinds of other phantasmagorical bullshit. You know, moronic atheists who believe we've been designed by nature to arrange the world in symbiotic relationships and shit. Okay, even there's no evidence of any of that crap, they believe it, okay, because they're hopeful and they want a pretty and pleasant world with daisies and butterflies, okay, and that butterflies don't get eaten by praying mantises, of course. So anyway, yeah, so there's all kinds of silly atheists, okay, silly because they are just as religious as you religious assholes. You know, and then, you know, your religion is just so devoid of commonsensical morality and ethics. I mean, the whole idea that a woman is incapable of being just as creative or intelligent or leadership quality, all that kind of crap as a man, like that we have to play roles. I mean, that's a really brilliant religious idea. Yeah, you really got that one right. And the whole idea that you know, you've conquered the world by killing people. That's how your religion only exists because it killed more effectively than all the other nutty religions. That's it. Philosophies, let's call them. And you know that truth. You know, most people, you know, if you don't if you don't wash the little brains when they're young, you know, you're not going to convert. What's the numbers realistically of total numbers of religious jerks who didn't grow up with it, who weren't brainwashed from birth into it? That the framework for non-belief or any belief, the framework is logic, all right, and that's where your faith just completely is destroyed. It's completely destroyed by that word. I mean, I understand why you wouldn't use the word. I would understand why when you say framework, you can't think in terms of logic, because applying logic would say that faith is an irrelevant, irrational, insane way of acquiring understanding. You don't believe in something and wait for the belief to feel right. I mean, that's a really kind of dopey way to decide what you're going to believe and what you're not going to believe. You know, a brain has to do a little better than that. We can't be thinking as we feel. We have to try to make our feelings match our intellect. Our intelligence really has to be in control. And so you're just another advocate for, you know, do what we need to do as human beings, you know, to touchy-feely kind of living rather than intelligent living. So fuck you, you're stupid. You know, you talk about us sounding foolish. You're the come on, nothing's as foolish as your dopey, idiotic, moronic, pearly little gate, false promises of your heaven where you what? Where you do what? Float around and pet children on the head? You know, what the heck, puppy, what, pet puppy dogs? What the fuck do you do in this goddamn heaven? Or, you know, your politics, the politics of your faith is going to destroy the fucking human race. It's going to destroy what we call civilization. And so your religion's going to lose in the end. We're all going to lose in the end because of you morons, you. All right? Because you're not going to do what people need to do. We need to restrain human population. We need to control it. It's not God's, you know, to be fruitful and multiply. Guess what? That's unsustainable at some point. So if God isn't going to come down and tell you you can't do that anymore, you got to be smart enough to say, well, you know, God hasn't shown up for a couple thousand years. Maybe I ought to take control myself. But you fucktards won't do that because, you know, you believe in this whole idea of, yeah, let's just destroy the world and we'll all float up to heaven and everything will be charming. I mean, it's just such a pile of shit. I mean, even the whole ethics of heaven. I mean, I can't even imagine I would go someplace and I would accept going there if it didn't accept my sisters or my parents or somebody else I cared about. I would say, fuck you, I'm not going. All right? It's either all or nothing. All right? I mean, just look at the morality. Look at what you do to people. You sit there and persecute human beings for things like their sexual orientation, and then you come to me with this you know, we sound foolish, we lack morality, we lack ethics, we lack a concern for the world. Fuck you. You're the ones with the logical insanity that you follow blindly like ignorant, stupid slugs following a trail. I mean, God. You're a disgrace to intelligence, and you know, yes, you're patronizing and you're insulting, and you sit there and talk about civility, and it really doesn't work that way, Jack. You know, fuck you. See, I can use that word because I don't have some kind of you know, dogmatic bullshit prohibition against it. I can tell you to go to hell. I can tell you to, you know, suck a dick. I can tell you to do all kinds of fucking things. I don't have to veil it in your little patronizing, putrid, petty verbiage. You know, oh, break free of your Santa Claus delusion. You're the ones with the Santa Claus delusion, asshole. I mean, God is nothing better than an Easter rabbit. It's nothing. It has no fucking intellectual integrity. There's no evidence. There's no nothing. It's logically foolish. It's demonstrated. I mean, you know, just take all the religious people, look at that inconsistency and say, what does it tell you? It tells you that most of them have to be wrong because they have inconsistent beliefs. And by that very standard, it's going to tell you that there's every probability that every one of them is wrong because they all have the lack of integrity. Wherein we could look at the atheist community and we'd see that intelligence tends towards atheism. People who invent and create the most brilliantly are usually atheists. Okay, and so that is indicating something. It's demonstrating something. You know, they may not all get it right. They might not be able to get every detail of reality correct, but they're on the right course.
We'll get on to Veritas because he's big on this, you know, nothing changes if we get rid of Christianity. Nothing changes. Everything changes. Okay, because your whole perspective, your perception of the world changes. You don't value things because a book tells you to value them anymore. And so things that are completely irrelevant to your personal satisfaction, like somebody else's sexual disposition, no longer becomes something you worry about. You're able to look at abortion and realize that, yeah, well, the mice we're experimenting on have a more profound sentient capability than that, you know, gestating human being. So you don't have some irrational idea that you have to go rescue a bunch of fetuses. You know, and then when it comes to these real-world issues like, you know, capitalism and how we treat people and exploitation and all that shit, it's all these Christians who are all big on that crap, you know. It's you Christians, you know, who are the ones that doesn't have to accept any responsibility for the pain you leave behind, for the blood and guts lying on the floor. An atheist, one who's going to be honest with themselves, they have to take real responsibility for the crap. You know, they don't get free forgiveness ticket. There's no free forgiveness ticket where you just say, I'm sorry, and somehow your unproductivity in the world is undone. The abuse that you've sanctioned or you've supported is undone. We have to take responsibility for what we do. That's why a number of become vegetarians, because we realize we have to take responsibility for the consequences of our actions, what we're what we're making possible, what we're making happen in our little incremental ways. So, you know, but just fuck you. You're the people that lack the character. You're the people that lack a world view. You're the people, in my opinion, that are void of any kind of decency and moral integrity as human beings. You're unproductive. You're destructive to the cause. You cause more pain and suffering. You are more dangerous to the human race on every level of ethical judgment by logic and science. It really is a science to think. Thinking and logic is a science. You know, you fall below the standard. You are the buffoons, the bliss chasers. You know, you're useless to the human race. You're destructive to the human race. You're just shitty, ignorant, dumb, retarded human beings.